Aviation-quest.cc 101, wind 270 degrees, 10 knots, runway 27 left, cleared for takeoff.
Aviation-quest.cc 101, cleared for takeoff 27 left. V1, rotate. Positive climb.
Aviation-quest.cc Stories from above. The views shared in this podcast are personal and for informational purposes only. They do not reflect any employer or aviation authority, and nothing discussed here should be considered flight training or regulatory guidance. Please always refer to official sources. This episode may also contain product placement. For further information, visit our website aviation-quest.cc.
Well, welcome to episode 8. It's the 7th part of our ongoing FAQ series. My name is Jürgen Reis. I am one of your two hosts here on Aviation Quest CC. We record this at October 16th at 12:30. Yeah, it's 12:30 Zulu, and the ETA of this podcast is 30 minutes to get some aviation lingo here right from the get-go. And on the other side, as usual, the other pilot in command, podcast pilot in command, Stefan. Hi.
Hey Jürgen, how are you? Everything okay?
Everything okay. My voice is a little bit off. The listeners will hear the cold October days was, don't know, a little bit a rough time. But I think this 30 minutes should be fine, and I'm in a lucky position. I'm, yeah, I have to ask 2 questions today, and then we are finished. Sounds easy, but as history proved, easy in theory.
There's a reason why we're now on podcast, whatever it is, 7 or 8. Yeah. But we'll get through it today. I'm optimistic.
I mean, I thought I went through some, podcast experience projects in the past with over 850 podcasts, but what I never thought of that a neat little FAQ, 2 pages, so 10 questions, will turn out into a 7-part series. this, is, this is fascinating, but at least it somehow aligns with the title of our podcast, Aviation Quest CC.
Yeah, exactly. It's a quest.
Yes, and what I don't forget in this quest is we are not only audio, we are also on YouTube. And there is a channel, and it's Aviation-Quest podcast. And thanks to Stefan's work, who is also running the really famous channel FS Clips. I think also today there is this podcast with the best of best of a real world flight in, so to say, simulated manner.
Yes, so as always, there's gonna be, if you watch this on YouTube, there's gonna be a real world flight, and today's flight is by EasyJet, and we are flying from London Gatwick to Alicante in Spain.
So, good. Easy chat and easy final approach now. By the way, this little banter that was going on at the very end of the last episode, that a glider never goes around or stuff like this, and this is our final approach. I think, Stefan, this will be, or to make already a little bit, so keep listening this podcast. This will be a topic in one of the upcoming episodes, huh? A funny one.
Yeah, absolutely. The difference between having an engine and not having an engine at your disposal.
Yeah, but I mean also where you learned, so to say, this glider wisdom from it was a person to person experience. We were flying together on the flight simulator. Let's leave it like this. But I think those days were fun, and I think we should cover them in some upcoming episodes.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. Yeah.
But yeah, 3 ways to safely fly a go around is a video on Stefan's FS Clips video YouTube channel, and you can watch it. And I just can say none of those will apply in this episode. We will make no go around. We will start right now with the first question and make a final approach. Good plan.
Very good plan. Let's hear it.
So, the question straightforward, Stefan, have you ever had any kind of emergency?
Yes, I've had emergencies.
In an
Probably.
airplane, I mean, as a
Yeah.
first, in context to this podcast.
Yeah. Of course, of course. We're not talking running out of chocolate in the house. No, I did actually. Um, uh, Emergencies in the wider sense are probably more common than people realize. But this is because when people think of emergencies, they think of all sorts of alarms going off and problems with the aircraft. The reality is the vast majority of emergencies are actually caused by passengers. So usually it is a passenger falling ill to a degree where, sometimes we have a doctor on board and they look at the patient or well, the passenger and they conclude that this passenger needs to be brought to hospital as soon as possible. So in that case, we need to declare an emergency, a medical emergency, and then we land at the nearest suitable airport and hand the person over to an ambulance that is waiting for us. And yeah, it's unfortunate, but we are transporting millions of people, and the chance of someone getting sick, unfortunately, is there. Um, it's maybe not so much an emergency, but it goes into that realm. We have, unfortunately, still an increasing number of people that are, how can I put this? They do not know how to behave on an aircraft. And sometimes it gets out of hand, and then we need to call the police to basically pick them up. In worst case scenario, again, you land somewhere where you're not supposed to, where you're not planning to land, and have them offloaded by the police. If you think it can be contained to a certain degree, you carry on to your final destination and have them arrested there. It's not an emergency as such, but usually when you tell ATC we require police assistance, they will give you priority over other aircraft because they know you want to get on the ground as fast as possible. As for the typical emergency, the ones that you see in the movies and all that, no, never.
Pull up, pull up, pull up,
Exactly.
pull
Yeah.
up. So in the simulator, so pull up.
Exactly. Yes. No, I've had nothing, and I've flown with captains that have flown for 40 years or whatever. They have tens of thousands of hours, and I ask a lot of them, "Have you ever had anything?" And every single one said no. The chances of actually encountering anything serious in an aircraft, even if you do it as a job and you fly almost every single day, thousands of hours, is almost zero. So even though we train a lot for it, the vast majority of pilots will retire without ever having encountered any kind of, engine failure or anything like that. Yeah, that's how safe flying is. So emergencies, yes, but from my perspective, the thing that causes more emergencies than anything else is the passengers. So yeah.
How is I mean, what's going through your head when there's really an emergency or something in the cabin that shouldn't happen? How do you decide? Is this, certainly I think you speak with the captain and then figure out what to do, also in communication with the cabin crew. But what's going on? I guess you are well trained for this.
Yes, I mean, these are very dynamic situations, so
Certainly.
you could be somewhere where there's no proper airport anywhere near. We fly into Africa and the Middle East. If you have a medical somewhere there, it's going to be very difficult to find an appropriate airport because you need to think if this person has a heart attack, they're not going to be grateful if you land in the middle of the desert because there's
Yeah,
nobody
but I
home.
mean the
No.
party group who didn't know who to behave. I mean,
Yeah.
just land somewhere, put them out, and hey, have fun in Africa. Yeah, yes, it's a
Yeah.
party. We fly on.
Yeah, that would
Sounds
be.
sounds like I mean, it sounds to me like a fair treatment. I'm just joking.
Yes. Yes, I mean, yeah, that's obviously another thing, but if you really are in an airspace where if you now land and ask for the police, they're going to be treated very badly. I'm sorry, that's not my problem. If the situation on board deteriorates to such a degree because people are drunk and become violent towards the crew and other passengers that we need to get them offloaded, then it really is not my problem that we land in a country where they're probably going to be mistreated. They should have thought about this in the first place. So obviously these things go through your mind. Um, the main thing really is communication, especially if you have a passenger that is severely ill, let's say a heart attack. This is something that happened to me. A passenger, heart attack, collapsed, no pulse, no breathing. The cabin crew had to do CPR, had to get the defibrillator. Unfortunately, no doctor, no nurse on board. So they keep us informed about the situation. We quickly evaluate what is the nearest suitable airport. You need to look at the weather. You don't want to fly into really bad weather. Make sure the airport is suitable, coordinate with air traffic control, declare a medical emergency. Then obviously you need to prepare the approach, pre-program everything. There's a lot of things to consider, how long have we been flying? Are we still overweight? Could be that you still have all the fuel in the tanks. Then you need to prepare for an overweight landing, which is a separate procedure. You need to perform a landing calculation for that airport, and so on, and so on, and so on. So the workload is extremely high, and all this while ATC will essentially let you fly in a straight line to the runway. So you're going to be on the ground very quickly, and in that short amount of time, there's a huge amount to do. You obviously need to inform the other passengers about what's going to happen. The company would also like to know at some point why you are landing somewhere along the route. So there is a lot to do. And really what it comes down to is teamwork, communication, making sure that everybody's at the same page. And yeah, but like you said, we train for this. We train for this over and over again. And in the occasions where it happened to me, it worked really well. I was actually really surprised how smooth it all went. The procedures in place, the things we do, everything is done in a logical order, and we work through the checklists, and then we land, and hopefully the passenger's going to be okay when we hand them over to the ambulance service.
Thank you for the detailed answer, Stefan. And well, one thing I have to add here, one information, important one, because we spoke about it, or you spoke about it in the 5th episode. This was the 4th part of our FAQ, that you could have been a millionaire, a YouTube millionaire years ago, because I mean your FS Clips title, FS Clips channel just got the wrong title. In reality, those are all emergency videos. Almost all of them. Another little insider joke going on there. But yeah,
Yeah.
everybody who was already listening to the 4th episode of this FAQ knows what I'm talking about. But there are 244 videos. They are not all about the A320, but I think maybe over 200 emergency videos with the wrong titles. As I said, otherwise this would be all, don't know, there would be millions of downloads on each of them.
Yes. But you want to hear something funny? Next year, in 2026, my YouTube channel is going to be 20 years old, which means that some of the people that are watching my videos, they probably will have been born when I typed in FS Clips into YouTube and opened the channel, which is pretty amazing. I got a notification from YouTube about
It
this.
is, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It also shows how old we are, Jürgen, huh?
Yeah, it shows a little bit. Yeah, I mean, I came up with my first podcast in 2007. As I said, we are all somehow pioneers of the internet, and we are still here. But yeah,
Still,
to
yeah.
give a little bit an emergency, so to say, answer here in a quick manner, I think we can say those are what did you said in this in something along the lines of one pilot operations, which are, so to say, by definition emergency procedures in your videos.
Yes, yes. If one pilot becomes sick and no longer able to fulfill their functions, and there's only one pilot left in charge of the aircraft, it's an automatic mayday. Yeah. At least on
So as
on
I said,
on an
if you want
airline.
to have 200 Mayday videos in a row, go to the FS Clips channel of Stefan and have fun for a few weeks.
It's not just that. Let's clarify. I do explain how the 320 works, and then at the end, we usually look at what happens when whatever I've explained doesn't work anymore. Yeah.
This is the most important rule on this podcast. Everything I say here with absolutely 100%, take it absolute 100% serious. I'm never joking. This is
Yeah,
rule number one on the podcast. We,
exactly.
both of us, we never joke. If you think it's a joke, it's straightforward. Believe.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, also this goes a long, long way back. But I think, there will be a lot of back in the year stories in throughout this podcast. But today, please, can we make a safe landing with this episode and switch forward for the 10th and final question, Stefan? This would be
Okay. I'm
wow.
ready. I'm ready. Let's do it.
Because we are exactly like like pilot wise calculated. We are in the middle. We are in minute 15. So in theory, this should be a wonderful final approach. So
Yeah.
let's try it at least.
Okay. Let's
So
land.
well, question number 10 is a little bit longer. What would you ever want to fly cargo? From a pilot's perspective, what are the pros and cons of passenger and cargo operations?
Hmm. That's an interesting question. So, purely in terms of flying, there's no difference. I mean, we sometimes, it doesn't happen often, but sometimes we have to transport empty aircraft from A to B. We have to pick them up from maintenance and bring them somewhere else, which means there's only two pilots and an empty aircraft flying somewhere, you know, to somewhere. And you would think it's different, but it's no different at all. For us, whether there are passengers or bags or packages behind the cockpit door makes no difference. We always do exactly the same thing. So I think in terms of differences, purely flying wise, no, there's no difference. You always operate the aircraft in the exact same way. You even switch on the seatbelt signs on a cargo aircraft. It's part of the checklist. At least that's what I've seen in some of the videos I've seen. So but then obviously there are differences in terms of the wider operation. First of all, cargo flying, a lot of it happens at night because you go online, you order something, and you want it the next day. So the parcel has to travel through the night. So most cargo pilots start their shift in the evening, transport all the parcels around Europe, so that in the morning they arrive where they supposed to be. DHL is a prime example. I don't know if there's a big airport in Germany called Leipzig. It's one of the big hubs. I fly
Yeah.
there during the day, and during the day you see like I don't know how many DHL aircraft sitting there, just not doing anything, and the aircraft is super quiet. We are the only aircraft usually flying in. But when you look at the airport, it has two runways. It's built for like really busy operations because once nightfall comes, all those DHL planes wake up and and then actually it becomes a really busy airport with a lot of cargo flights going in and out. So what you need to be aware of is that for a lot of cargo ops, you're gonna be always flying in the night and always sleeping during the day. And of course, in terms of social life, I'm not sure how great that is. If you have a family, and you're always tired during the day because you've been flying the whole night, it's maybe, I don't know. There are other companies, like Cargolux is one where you fly the 747 on long haul. I actually happen to know two guys there, but they say the same thing. You are usually what they call on tour. So this is not like a passenger plane where you fly to, I don't know, New York and back. You usually fly to, I don't know, Dubai, and from Dubai to Riyadh, and from Riyadh to Hong Kong, and from Hong Kong somewhere else. And you're going to be gone for 10, maybe even 15 days before you arrive back. And then obviously you have, 10, maybe even 15 days off. But those days, that period where you fly is pretty tough. It's always minimum rest wherever you land. Quite often you fly through the night. Um, so at the end of that rotation, even, I mean, it's exciting, you get to see all these places, you get to fly 747, which I think would be amazing. But, you know, it's like everything. You do it for a year, 2 years, 3 years, and then it becomes routine. And then the negatives start to seep through. So would I ever do it? That was actually your question. And how is it different? So it is a bit different in terms of operations. Would I do it? I think, yeah, I would actually. I think I would. I think it'd be a good experience. You get to fly to places where airliners usually never fly into. The operation is quite different in terms of loading the aircraft, mass and balance. There's a lot more to do with dangerous goods, which is something airlines usually, steer clear. Like we don't transport things that are, I don't know, radioactive or things like that, whilst cargo airlines do. And then, of course, you need to be fully aware of all the rules, regulations. So I think in terms of operation, it might be quite interesting actually to fly cargo. But like I said, in terms of social life and the rostering you can expect, it's probably quite tough flying. So maybe something for a few years to broaden your horizon. Maybe. Yeah, I think that's my answer. Maybe.
But you just answered, you just said besides the big airports, certainly the internet, or I mean, also the cargo airports are certainly international airports, but that cargo planes also land on airports where other airliners normally don't land. So something along those lines. And do you think due to this, it would offer you more hand flying experience? I mean, the cargo world.
It could be. It could be. I mean, just to give you one example, there's an airport in Austria called Graz. Now, we fly into Graz. Graz is not a big airport. I don't know if you've ever been there. Usually, you see A320s, and that's pretty much the biggest thing that you will see there. It's, lots of general aviation aircraft, Cessnas and Warriors, and once in a while, a big A320 comes in. A few years ago, I was there, and there was a FedEx MD-11 landing there, which is a huge aircraft. And I asked what it was doing there, and they were picking up horses, racing horses. I think it was for a sheikh in the Middle East. Uh, as an MD-11 pilot, you would never, ever, ever fly into an airport like this. you know, like if you would fly the MD-11 for, I don't know, Swissair or Finnair or whatever at that time, you would never fly into Graz, because why
An
would you?
MD-11 into Graz. Yeah, this is really. Yes, I have been
Yes,
to Graz, but this is yeah, everything but a big airport, or I don't know
exactly.
how
I
long
think,
is the runway. I had no idea that this is. I don't know more details about Graz, but this is
yeah.
certainly not. You cannot compare Graz with Heathrow or something like
No,
this.
no, no, no. It's a small, and I'm pretty sure when that aircraft parked up, half of the apron was occupied. So there was no space for anybody else. But what I'm trying to say is, I think these guys sometimes, somebody calls DHL, FedEx, UPS, whatever they're called, says, "Hey guys, I need you to pick up my horses. They're at the race course in, I don't know, somewhere in the UK." And then you have to fly there. And I think that'd be really cool. I also know some of them fly Formula One cars, to the circuits between the races. So you will be flying into some unusual airports, and like you said, not all of them are that well equipped in terms of ILS and everything, you know. So I think maybe the flying could be more interesting because you may be flying into airports where there is no ILS, and you just have to hand fly, you know, maybe some Caribbean islands or whatever, you know. So yeah, maybe the flying could be more interesting. I would imagine it's also a bit more varied because if you fly for an airline, they make the roster of all the aircraft, and that's what they fly for the entire year. So everybody knows this year we're gonna be flying to this destination 3 times a week, and that's it. That's what we do. Whilst cargo is a lot more flexible, if you know what I mean, you know. You see them carrying stuff for concerts, for Formula One races, for, you know, horses, animals, all sorts of things. So I could imagine that that could be, in terms of flying, a bit more interesting, a bit more varied, because you actually probably never really know where you're going for the next few months.
But yeah, let's stay on the plane. So the second in-depth question here. You already mentioned the MD-11 at the 747, and I told you before the recording started that I went into my collector's box here a little bit, and in my hand is now the boxed version of the. I think it deserves the adjective epic. The epic BMDG add-on of the 747-400X. You also flew it, Stefan, I think, on the Queen of the Skies. So
Yes.
to say, would you say still a dream of yours? Because it's a super beautiful for me, it's just a beautiful airliner.
It is an amazing aircraft, yes. But sorry to burst the bubble. It's a workplace. And as a workplace, it's just inferior to most modern aircraft. The cockpit is quite cramped, and because of the shape of the nose and the cockpit window, it's very noisy. I actually have a friend who used to fly the 747-400, and he said the cockpit was so noisy you could never take off the headphones because they were noise canceling. Otherwise, you know, you couldn't even have a conversation. Technology wise, I mean, you know, what can you say? It's an old aircraft. Flying wise, I'm sure it would be amazing, you know, to fly the Queen of the Skies, absolutely. But you know, purely from a working environment, if someone would say to me, would you rather fly for the next 10 years the 747 or the A350, then I would definitely go A350 because it's a super modern aircraft, really quiet, spacious, bright, has all the latest technology. So, you know, I understand why people sometimes get lost in this nostalgia, and I get it. But people need to understand this is also a job. This is my office, my environment where I work in. And as much as I love certain aircraft, the reality is that you're gonna be spending so much time in that cockpit. If that cockpit is not comfortable and noisy, you're gonna get tired of that aircraft fairly quickly. So if I could fly the 747 for a few weeks and then go back on Airbus, that'd be perfect. But I don't think that's gonna happen.
Yeah, if then take me with you. It's with the flight simulator. It was it was really it was by far the add-on I spent the most time with. It was really for me. I'm just back. I was just lost in memories with this box. You should see, listeners should see me. I'm sitting here in the studio like a little kid with this blue box, and a lot of pictures are in front of my in my head cinema. You know, so many approaches all over the world, and it's really, yeah. Also Kaitak, yes, Kaitak was okay. Lost in memories here.
Yeah, but
Hey,
I'm gonna be honest with you. The PMDG is working on a new 747 for
oh,
Microsoft, and I'm definitely gonna buy that. You know, 100%. It's a must-have for me. Um, the Queen of the Skies is iconic, and for me personally, if you're into airliners and Microsoft Flight Simulator, or any flight simulator, then really you should have one in your collection. And the PMDG one has always been the best one, in my personal opinion. And I'm really looking forward to the next one. And I believe they said they would also include the classic, so the old ones, the 100, the 200.
Oh, wow.
With the analog cockpit. I need to double check that. But so that would be super cool, to fly one of those really old original birds and cross the Atlantic with, a watch museum instead of screens. So yeah,
I'm really looking forward for some 747 new, so to say, edition deep dives on FS clips, and maybe also somehow like a sightseeing video on our Aviation Quest podcast channel would be really great. I think, yeah, I got a good feeling with this. So this is, fair value, and I think I got a lot of there are thousands of thumbs up here. I see out of I mean I'm watching just over the Lake of Constance here from my 8-story podcast studio, and I see thousands of thumbs up. So yeah, Jürgen, yeah, Stefan, do this. Yeah, we will do this. Stefan
yeah,
will do this, and I will talk about it. Easy job.
yeah, very easy, very easy. Yeah, I think there's certain aircraft that almost deserve their own podcast. Like Concorde, the 747. They're just these iconic aircraft that have such a cool history of how they came about, how they were made, and so yeah, absolutely. Maybe in the future we can pick aircraft and do a proper deep dive and discuss why they are so iconic and why they are so famous, you know, compared to other mundane aircraft like the one I fly, the 320. Nobody cares about the 320, but it's a reliable workhorse and it does its job, and that's what I like about it.
The A320 on the Amiga 500. That's also a chapter on its own in my, so to say, simulated airliner
Yeah,
career.
exactly.
But yeah, we have, as I think this table in our document, it got 5 pages. I'm just guessing here with topics we should cover on this podcast. And now we covered the first FAQ, so the smallest one. It was one line, 10 questions. And we have 5 pages. And now we add today all different kinds of aircraft. This makes sense. This is a good idea.
Yes.
Always something to do. Always this table is getting longer and longer, and I hope we switch we switch sooner or later from a FAQ to the next topic. But it looks good because I have no more in-depth questions, and all
Yeah.
the 10 questions were covered perfectly by
Very
you,
good.
Stefan. I'm a happy man today.
Well, I have a feeling by the time we go through all our topics, you and I will be sitting in some old people home, you know.
Yeah.
Uh,
This is
with our
also what I thought, that this is really a long term project. That it's just on the takeoff. We are just rolling to the runway. We didn't even realize how slow we are approaching. It's crazy.
Yeah, no, I think in terms of aviation, we were
Or
not
taking off, to say it
we're
well.
not even rolling to the runway. We're still in the car park of the
Yeah,
airport, I think.
yeah. This is what I meant. Yeah, we are slowly going to the takeoff and haven't realized it.
Yeah.
But well, as always, from my side, if you out there have any ideas that make our table even more longer, no problem. Feel free to write in. Aviation-quest.cc is our email address, which you can find on our homepage or also on our YouTube channel. And yeah, interview guest suggestions as well as other questions, more FAQ, whatever, feedback, positive, negative, constructive feedback, always a good thing. And yeah, Stefan, with this, I mean, with 33 minutes, we are still. Which aircraft real world lands with only 3 minutes? I think this is not a delay. This is just a minor. Is this even worth mentioning? I think if you arrive really 3 minutes after time on the terminal, I think this is pretty super on time.
Yeah, anything below 5 minutes is not a delay, according to, most companies. So yeah, we're on time.
We are super perfect on time. And I thank you as always for your time, Stefan. And yeah, stay in the line afterwards. We have to figure out what we gonna talk about in the, but I think we have topics enough. Idea,
Yeah.
ideas enough for the next years.
Yes, I think so too. Anyway, I wanted to say thank you to everyone for listening. And thank you for sticking with us. If you really went through the whole FAQ, I admire you. And I hope we can both hear from you, or, you both join us. You join us both in the next podcast. That's what I wanted to say. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to Aviation Quest CC Stories from Above. For more information about this episode and everything we do, visit our homepage aviation-quest.cc. We appreciate your time and support, and we'd love to have you back for the next episode. Until then, stay safe, stay curious, and keep your passion for aviation flying high.